Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Utopiacast. I am your host, Eric Hogan, joined by my co-host, Michael Beaupre. And today we are joined by the young wonderkin himself, Elliot Woznica. Today on episode 1, we discuss powerlifting in a commercial gym, why we do it, why we hate it, what keeps us coming back. But before we get into it, let's introduce ourselves and tell the audience who we are. We're going to start with Mr. Michael here. Michael, we've known each other since we were in about second grade, the old Saco youth football.
Yep.
We played 2 years in that league, or at least I did. We were on the Patriots.
Yep. We won every single game.
We won every single game by.
A lot.
I remember very vividly winning a game 65-0. We played the Giants every single week. I was the quarterback of the team. Michael was a running back. I think we scored. If just taking a guess, there was around 80 touchdowns this year. We probably contributed to 78 of them. So I've known you for a long time.
Remember we always used to race too?
Yep, we used to race. We were the speed demons of the team.
Yep.
But anyway, yeah, so getting into who you are, I've known you for quite a long time, obviously. You got into powerlifting super, super early, especially compared to today's day and age where it just seems that everyone kind of got into it around 2018 to 2020.
Right.
You were powerlifting around 2013, 2014, way before it took off on social media. And you have a kind of interesting journey to kind of where you're at right now. So if you wouldn't mind, just go through, kind of talk about your journey in the sport, and then, anything that kind of comes to mind in terms of your journey and where you're at right now.
So I'm Michael Beaupre. I'm 23. I started lifting when I was 12, so 2010. I started pretty much like the week after I turned
12. Okay.
I started because of football. My dad got me into bunch of other guys that were my age.
I don't want to cut you off immediately, but just briefly talk about who your dad is to set the stage, because Steve Beaupre is a local legend, and maybe not even necessarily a local legend. Within the New England area, his name carries a lot of weight.
Right, so he powerlifted for pretty much most of his life. He started when he was 10. He was really big in the squat. He squatted close to 700 pounds. But that was with a suit.
It was with a suit, but he was also a 165-pound lifter.
Right, yeah. He was pretty good at all three lifts. I guess his deadlift was not the best, but...
If there was one lift to nitpick, it would probably be that one. He had a hell of a bench press for, someone that size.
400-something pounds, yeah. Right. He never really competed, I don't think, at like a really high level, like a high-level meet.
He was working full-time during that entire time, right?
Right. So he did a lot of local meets, probably best in the state, I would say. And like you said, in New England.
Before I knew you, I mean, not necessarily before I knew you, but like I just meet random people and like, do you know Steve Beaupre? When they know that I do powerlifting, I'm like, yeah, I do.
Yeah, I've gotten that too. I was talking to this guy one time, and it was at Impact. He was just like talking about like, oh, there was this guy back in the 90s or whatever that really strong, and he was like, his name was Steve Beaupre. I was like, oh, that's my dad. He's like, that's seriously?
Funny. That's funny.
Yeah, it was funny.
All right, so let's get back on track. So you got started around, you said kind of around the same time we both started lifting was like 2010. Talk about powerlifting specifically. So when did you get into the game?
So I decided to actually start competing, I think in 2014.
Wow.
I think I was 14, 15 years. Actually, no, before 2000.
I think if you go on Open Powerlifting, I think your first meet was early 2014, but you probably started training in 2013 for powerlifting.
Right. So I was a freshman in high school, I think. My first one was in Vermont. It was bench only.
Yep. Vermont for bench only. That is aggressive.
Yeah. Well, I had to get a meet in because I was going to regionals.
Okay.
And where I broke an American record.
So regionals was your second meet, and you broke an American record in your second meet.
Right. Yeah. I think it was.
This should set the stage for where Michael competed at a young age. So keep going, please.
It was, I think, like 230, something like that. The meet before in Vermont, I did a little bit. Yeah, it was 230.
How much did you weigh for that?
127, 128.
That is insane.
Yeah. After that, I believe I started doing all 3 lifts.
Full power. Yep.
Yeah. My first full powerlifting meet, I think, was in Maine. And I won my weight class.
Yep.
Could have broken American records then, but didn't. You national judges.
Yeah, of course, setting American records and stuff like that, it's pertinent on who the referees are, where the meet is. So you're probably capable of it, but you just didn't have the opportunity to do it.
Right. After that, that qualified me for nationals. I went to nationals. I went into it not thinking I was going to win because there was another kid doing it. It was just me and him, and I ended up winning by I think like 11 pounds or so. It was close.
Yeah, that is very close in powerlifting standards.
Yeah. I broke my previous American record then. After that, I was set to go to Worlds because I won.
Yep.
I hurt myself skiing. So then I started doing bench only again. Like, I was in the gym on crutches.
I remember that you posting about that on your Instagram, early 2014-15 Instagram.
Yeah.
Maybe it was 16, I guess, at that point, but still, getting into the gym with a cast on your leg benching.
Yeah, with my leg propped up on a chair.
Right.
It was not fun.
Right.
But I did it, and that led me up to Worlds in 2017.
And that was Bench Worlds, correct?
Right, yeah.
Right.
I got an email for it. I didn't qualify for it or anything. They sent me an email saying if I want to do it, I can do it.
I actually did not know that. I did not know that you didn't actually qualify.
Yeah.
They just sent you an email.
Right. And so I took a little bit to kind of think about it because at the time I was doing sports. I was playing lacrosse. Well, I never actually got to play in high school. I played 1 year, but I had knee injuries. So I was set to play lacrosse, but I decided to go to Worlds, not play lacrosse.
You had to drop a ton of weight, if I remember correctly,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Because that was right after you committed to moving up to the next weight class, then you had to drop right back down.
Right. Yeah. I was weighing somewhere around like 144.
Yep.
Leading up to it, I got myself down to like 140 about 2 weeks out, and I didn't know how I was going to cut weight that much.
Right.
I had never done it.
Yep.
I had always cut maybe 2-3 pounds.
Which is not much at all.
Yeah, and I didn't do it right. Like, I never knew how to really do it.
Yeah, we talked about this, when we first started working together about how to do it properly and whatnot, but keep going.
Yeah, so I did like a keto diet to get all the carbs out, drop all the water. I ended up making weight by a good amount. I weighed...
If I remember correctly, you weighed in at like 127.
126.
Regardless.
Yeah.
That's 4 pounds under the weight class, and you're already 130 pounds is tiny.
Right. And I ended up getting 275 on bench.
Insane.
Yeah, at 126. I got fourth. I went for 281. I missed it. If I would have got that, I would have got third.
Right.
I would have tied the person
And
in
you were
third,
lighter?
and I was lighter.
Right.
So, yeah, that was Worlds.
Now, real quick, Michael, before we go into, the brief pause away from your powerlifting career, really quickly, I want you to speak on the difference between a full power. Obviously, the difference between a full power and a bench only is when you're doing 3 lifts, one that you're just doing, the bench press. Is it like fun when you're only doing 3 lifts? To me, it would seem like you get there, you weigh in, and as soon as you weigh in, the meet is pretty much over. It doesn't seem as fun. Would that be correct, or?
Yeah, I mean, when I did like the just literally 3 lifts, like 3 attempts bench.
Yeah.
When I was locally, it wasn't so bad because I didn't have to travel so far.
Right.
But going to Worlds, and the experience was cool. It was nice to do it.
I would think the experience probably trumps everything at that point.
But yeah, it's a lot to travel all the way. It was in Texas. Travel all the way to Texas just to lift for maybe like 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it's fun. I definitely like all 3 lifts better.
Yeah.
Because
I don't think you would do another bench only meet now at this
no
point.
way. Unless I had to, like, say I got hurt or whatever, but that not to happen.
Of course.
But yeah, I definitely prefer all 3. It's definitely harder.
Yeah.
To like make weight. Like if I had to make weight at 130, weighing 144.
Yeah.
Doing all 3, there's no way.
No, we probably would have Your performance probably would have suffered somewhere.
Right. And I was doing legs leading up to it, but I stopped about a month out because I realized I needed to get the muscle off my legs.
Right.
So I started running and everything.
Imagine that dilemma where you have to get the muscle off of your legs.
Yeah. Yeah, it was rough. But then, yeah, after Worlds, it's kind of when we started like talking, started at each other in second grade.
Yeah, but then we didn't really talk much throughout when you were in high school and I was in high school. Just going to different schools and whatnot. Obviously, you have other friends and whatnot, and we kind of reconnected on Instagram and whatnot because we were both kind of doing the same thing. I'll talk about how I got into it, but 2018 we started training together. Now I want you to I guess talk about your I like to call it the pause, but you're back now, so we can call it a pause because that means there was a resume button. So speak upon that, if you will.
Yeah, so I kind of took a break after the first meet we did together. I
Yep.
believe that was it your first meet?
That was my second meet.
Okay.
Yep.
So I took a break after that. I think it was a mixture of being burned out, competing since I was lifting since I
Right.
I took about a 3-year break,
Yeah, give or take about 3 years.
2018, like two.
It was early. Yeah. Yep.
I mean, I had lifted throughout that time,
Yeah,
but it was
exactly.
never really consistent.
Right.
I believe we tried to do like a 16-week bench program to get me to 3.
Right.
It didn't work.
Right. We got to like 300, I believe.
Yeah,
And
and
you
then
tried 315 that day.
yeah.
Yeah.
And it was like my 5th time trying 315 in my life. um, yeah, and then COVID hit,
Yep.
and that's kind of really what made me take a long break.
Mhm.
I didn't lift for 3 months till the gyms reopened.
Which is crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a long time.
And then I got really small, and then they reopened. I went back, but I never really was consistent. I couldn't get the motivation back.
Part two.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then in the summer of 2021, I helped you at your meet, the first one.
Yep. So my first meet as a co-meet director. Yep.
Right. And that kind of sparked something. I knew going into it, I'm like, oh, this is
And I knew it would too, and that's part of the reason why I reached out to you.
right. So yeah, it sparked something, and I started going back to the gym. I got consistent in August of I was squatting like 250. I was asking you about my form because it sucked. Like it had been years.
Right.
I was like, yeah, squatting 250, benching 225. I could still do it. And deadlifting like 405 sumo.
Yep.
And then yeah, we started training really hard, and all the way up until January, and my first meet back.
Yep.
It's a lot of fun.
First meet back in around 4 years. You had your what was your best total? Best
Yeah,
squat.
1174.
Yep. So best you had a meet PR deadlift, an all-time PR squat, and then 1173 total, which was a PR. And you had more on pretty much all three lifts. I know we had a little bit of a rough patch on bench, but I mean, realistically, you also won first overall for the lightweight men.
Yeah, which was pretty awesome. I wasn't expecting it going.
No, exactly. Is it safe to say that you're back now?
Yeah, I'd say I'm back.
And it's certainly nice to have you back because, like we've talked about before, the presence of lightweight lifters, especially in this area, it's big in like Massachusetts and maybe to a lesser extent New Hampshire. In Maine, it's like there's none, right? It's all like kids who are
Right.
67.5 kilos and below. So
Because they're kids.
because they're kids, and,
Yeah.
that's part of the reason there's not many men are our size, but that's neither here nor there.
Yeah.
Thanks, Michael. Before we move on to Mr. Elliot here, what do you do for work? So you work full time, on
Right.
top of training, and you've been doing this for a very long time. So what do you do for work?
I work with my family company, Beaupre Fuels.
Yep.
I deliver propane. I started right out of high school. I started in high school a little bit. I'd go deliver with my dad after school.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've been doing it full time since 18.
Yep.
Got my license, certification for it.
You drive the big trucks now.
I do, yeah.
Yeah.
it's
It's always funny seeing Michael behind the wheel of that truck.
yeah, it's a lot of work, but you get used to it.
Of course.
But I train in the morning before I go to work.
4 a.m.
Yeah. And that's part of the reason why I had to take a break is because I couldn't balance work and training.
Of course.
So 'cause training after work, is not fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, I got myself to go in at 5, go to work. Work's fun. It's
Yeah.
good.
It is what it is. And how old are you again, Michael?
23.
3, yeah. So this is Michael's final year as a junior.
Yep.
Um,
We
thanks,
have
Mike.
we have a meet coming up soon.
Yes, we do. Mr. Elliott's doing this meet as well, and I'm one of the co-meet directors. All right, so let's talk to Mr. Elliot Woznica here. Elliot, you and I haven't known you as long as I have known Michael. How long would you say that we've known each other?
Known each other or worked with each other?
I would say known each other because we knew each other just a little bit before we started working together.
Just a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, honestly, a little bit might be an understatement.
Right.
We didn't know each other well, but we knew each other of each other for a long time.
From the gym.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I probably knew Elliot before you did.
Yeah, because I think that you've seen him before because I was always at different times than you guys for a little bit.
Right.
So I would never see the other crowd.
Yeah, Michael and I used to pull up like right after
After school.
we didn't go to school together, did we?
No, I think I was a senior and you might have been in 8th grade.
Just to set this up, Michael and Elliot are both from the Saco area, and they both went to Thornton Academy, which is actually the largest high school in the state. So they have that in common. So Elliot here. So we haven't known each other that long. I would say, 2020 maybe?
Yeah, about that time.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And we've been working together since late 2020, was it? Or is it 2021 we first started
I
working
think it was
together?
early 2021.
Yeah, okay. So it's 2021 where I took you on as a client. Again, haven't known you that long, but I feel like we have a good relationship at this point.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so same deal with you. So you're at a different point in your powerlifting journey than Michael, and you haven't been in the game that long. I want you to speak upon, kind of where you're at, how you got your start in the sport, and then maybe just a couple things here and there on you're a student and you also work part-time on top of that, on top of training. Maybe speak upon that. So you have the floor right now.
Yeah, so Michael said, 23, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm only 18, and I've actually
It's a
only...
young man.
Yeah, young man. I've only competed 3 times.
Yep. So your first was what? The high school meet?
High school meet in June.
And then states?
Yep.
And then the Winter Open. Yeah, so 3.
Yeah.
This will be your 4th coming up.
Yeah, so I only competed for the first time about what is that, over a year ago or less than a year ago?
I actually think was that meet in June?
Yeah.
So it's going to be pretty close to 1 year of competitions. Yeah, it's going to be, you did 3 meets in pretty much like a 10-month span.
It's pretty cool. So I competed for the first time like a little bit, like close to a year ago. And then I had only been powerlifting up until that point for realistically, like a half a year before that. I mean,
And it's hard to say like when you started powerlifting. It's like, when did you do your first meet, or when did you do your first heavy squat, bench, and deadlift? That's like,
yeah, or like when I
things.
started running programs, like what? I mean, I would say that I first started taking, I guess, the dogma of like practicing a heavy single on squat,
Yeah,
bench, and deadlift. I first started taking that seriously probably in like the beginning of 2021, maybe around the end of 2020. So it really hadn't been that long up until I competed for the first time.
Right.
And yeah, I mean, I had been lifting for a long time before that, though.
Of course.
I actually got into it my freshman year of high school. So this would have been like 4 years ago now, 5 years ago at this point.
Okay.
I took the weight and power training class there to fulfill my like gym credit or whatever.
I did that. Yeah, I did that too. It was actually kind of fun.
Yeah, it was really fun. I mean, looking back on it, it was whatever. It wasn't like you're not going to become a pro powerlifter doing that, but
yeah, right.
it definitely
But
got
that's
me
not
into
like
it.
the goal of those classes.
Yeah, no, it's definitely not. But it got me into it. It ignited the spark for me. I mean, like every class I looked forward to it a lot. And that's like, I had done sports. I played soccer throughout middle school. Nothing in high school.
Right.
And
You messed around with some band stuff, right?
yeah, band. Yeah, all through high school, actually, up until COVID.
It's pretty sick, man.
Emotional.
Yeah, it is.
Music man.
It's up.
Anyway.
That's one of the things we have in common.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Sure.
keep going.
Yeah, like got me into it. I mean, I looked forward to every class. It was just like, I was never super athletic, but like I liked being active,
Of course.
And so it was just kind of a good excuse for me to get back into the game, I guess. Pretty different games, if you ask me, but
A little different game.
yeah, that's how I got started. I really do think of myself as like a beginner lifter still, though.
I mean, it's hard to say. I wouldn't call you a beginner. I think at this point you're literally the definition of an intermediate. I would say beginner would probably be like you're just literally learning how to.
Yeah, that's true.
Maybe you're a beginner power lifter, but I would call you an intermediate level lifter.
Yeah, I mean, I do have a lot of practice.
I mean, you bench 315 and you're 18. That's pretty impressive.
That's true, but
Elliot, was that 315 on program? Anyway,
who's asking?
Anyway, get back to what you're talking about. So you're at a different point, as we mentioned. You're only 1 year into the game. You've done 3 meets, which again is pretty aggressive.
Yeah.
Michael, do you know off the top of your head how many meets that you've done total?
Maybe 8 or 9.
8 or 9, and I just
like
did my 8th meet, so you're already halfway, pretty close to halfway to that point. And I've been powerlifting for 6 years, so it's you already accumulated a decent amount of mileage. So yeah, we started working together, and when was it? It was about 2021. We kind of came to the conclusion of.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. You kind of have taken off within like the last year or so. What do you kind of attribute that to?
I attribute that to a lot of things. I mean, probably obviously to myself and to yourself as you. I mean,
thank you.
I never really had like a plan. I used to hit like the push pull legs, this and that. And like I cared about squat, bench, and deadlift, but I didn't like program in specifically to get better at them. I just thought like, oh, get strong, get aesthetic too. You know, I grew up on David Lade and stuff, so.
And that is where the disconnect lies between me and Michael and Elliot.
Huge disconnect there.
That's right. David Lade was not a inspiration for me, or Michael, I'm speaking for you, but I don't think that was an inspiration for you.
Yeah, no, I never really was into David Lade.
It's a young guy thing.
It's a young guy thing.
I guarantee you, every young guy that hears this, David Lade, let's go.
Debatable, but yeah, you're probably right.
Majority of them, at least.
Right.
But yeah, that's like all I cared about. I mean, for the longest time, I cared about the gym, but I didn't know anything about diet. I didn't know anything about training.
Of course not.
I didn't know anything about squatting. All my gym bros.
Right.
But yeah, I just like, I don't know. I attribute it to you taking it seriously. I mean, as you get older, you also have a lot more resources. So
of course,
I started to get my diet down packed. Still not perfect. I just had 2 breakfast sandwiches. Dunkin' moments before recording this. But
shout out Dunkin', by the way.
Dunkin' is a real one, but nothing is perfect still. But you know, yeah, it's just like growing as a person, having you as a coach.
You've also, exactly, you're literally growing as a man right now. So you have that aspect. Whereas like me and Michael, we're not growing anymore. We're not like, we're done with like puberty and stuff like that. Not necessarily saying that you're going through puberty or anything like that, but you are.
I was a late bloomer.
Well, yeah, from what you've told me, yeah, that does sound, but you don't have, I guess, the accumulated mileage that we've had. So you're quite literally on the come up, the truest definition of that. Michael, you're going to say something.
Yeah, I was going to say that, I mean, diet in powerlifting isn't really a huge deal. Obviously, if you want to be like elite, you got to be on your stuff. But
I think I would agree. I think I'm not going to sit here and say diet doesn't matter at all. I think it is super overrated in terms of the things to kind of worry about.
Yeah.
And this is taking it to extreme. Obviously, if you're not eating at all, or if you're eating like a jackwagon, you're probably not going to perform well. Most people have a good idea of, yeah, I probably should eat enough protein. I probably should eat enough to where I'm full. If you're doing that, you're probably going to do well in powerlifting.
Yeah, it's honestly, it matters that you're eating enough, not
exactly
dieting.
Yeah, for me, it's like, I guess taking it seriously. Like, you know, I have a big appetite, but it really depends on the day. And so certain days, I guess when I say I started taking my diet seriously, it's like the difference between, I don't know, like 1,500 calories throughout the day and then just wanting to go to bed.
Yeah,
that's a lot.
That's a lot?
Yeah, 1,500 calories, like.
I don't think he means in one
up or
sitting,
down?
though.
No, not in one sitting.
Oh, no, up or down. Yeah,
in a day.
That's a lot, yeah.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, that's a lot to, like, vary.
Absolutely.
Well, yeah, but, like.
How much do you eat? How many calories do you eat now? Like, on a good day?
He does not know. He does not track.
I do not track.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, probably
I can guarantee he was just going to conjure up a number. And
4,000?
for a fact that he doesn't track.
No, 4,000. That's probably a good estimate, to be honest.
And that's a lot. That's a lot of calories.
No, that's a lot. But you know, when I say taking it seriously, I just mean like
I know what you mean.
When you don't want to eat your last meal before bed, but you know you have to, or like diet before training to get like.
That's why you have such a torturous relationship with muffins.
Don't get me started on the muffins, man.
Exactly, the force feeding muffins before bed with milk.
That's another David Laterism.
Yeah, let's get off that topic.
Yeah.
So real quick, I guess before I speak upon me, you're currently in school right now.
Yep, I go to UNE.
UNE, University of New England in Biddeford. Now you do a couple of remote classes though, don't you?
Just one.
Just one?
Yeah, every Friday.
Okay, but you're a commuter.
I do commute, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So are you still undeclared?
Yeah, I'm undeclared. I tell everyone that I'm thinking about business, though.
Okay, that's fair. So you're technically you're a full-time student?
Yeah, full-time student.
All right, so you're a full-time student. I know Elliot, so I can say this. You work also part-time.
Yeah, I do. I work at Saco Bay Variety.
Saco Bay Variety. How many days a week are you doing that?
Ooh, okay, so up until just this last week, actually, I had another job.
Yep.
On the Vine.
Yep.
It's like a high-end grocery store in Scarborough. And during the school year, I worked there every Tuesday and Thursday.
2 days a week?
2 days a week, and then I worked at Saco Bay on Sundays all day.
Wow. Okay, so you're working 3 days a week,
3 days a week, yeah.
5 days a week.
Yep.
Lifting 5 days a week.
Yeah.
So your schedule is pretty jam-packed.
Pretty jam-packed, and for those of you guys with a girlfriend out there, that is a thing too.
That is a thing. We won't get into that too much, but if Michael was about to speak, why don't you say?
Yeah, I was gonna say having a girlfriend is tough when you're trying to balance all that.
Yeah, it's tough in the sense that like you just
you got to make time for them.
It really is a distraction. Like it's like not in a bad way.
I'm really surprised he said that.
No. Here's the thing though, is like I kind of relate it to like what's like a pleasure that a lot of young men indulge in, like video games.
Elliot, we're taking this podcast down a direction I'm not sure we want to continue with.
No,
but
just hear me out. It's like it's a distraction. Like,
I wouldn't use pleasure.
I love hanging out with my girlfriend, and it's like it makes me not want to like eat that last meal, like I was just talking about, or stuff like that. So
I know what you mean. But in all seriousness, that's a topic that we could talk about sometime. Is juggling all the things that we. As you guys know, I am, and I hate, using this as a trope or whatnot, but I quite literally am the most busy person that I know. I'm quite literally jam-packed every single day of the week.
Yeah, you are. And like when we were saying we wanted to start a podcast, I was like, you're really busy. Like,
yeah, exactly.
You coach, you work, you train. You wake up at what, 5 a.m. and go to bed at 12?
And go to bed sometimes at midnight, yeah.
That's 5 hours of sleep. That's not a lot.
It's tough, but... No, but that is a big aspect of what we do, right? Because it's not a sport where you have other people to like get on. Because like if you play basketball or whatnot, you have to show up to practice. And if say you don't show up to practice, your teammates are going to be like, "Where are you?" If all of us, yeah, I am the coach of you guys, but I am not monitoring. Like, did you go to the gym today? You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
So, but yeah, so that goes to show, though, there is other things that you have to deal with besides the things we just kind of talked about. So I guess I'll, lay it into, who I am and whatnot. I don't want to go too into detail, for the sake of time or whatnot. I already said my name, Erik Hogan. I'm 24 years old. From Old Orchard Beach. Grew up here. Went to all the schools here. The reason why I keep saying here is we're actually filming this or recording this podcast in Old Orchard in my house, in the house I grew up in. Graduated in 2016. If you just heard my origin story, you would think I'm a completely different person than what I am. So I graduated. I was actually the valedictorian of my class. 4.0 GPA, all that stuff. Took AP classes, honors classes, and whatnot. And again, if people actually know me, I wouldn't say I come off as someone who's stupid, but I don't come off as a super intellectual.
Just want to interrupt and say that I'm in the same boat, but almost to a worse extent, man. I mean, I'm sure if you ask anyone, they'll say I'm like the dumbest person they know.
Yeah, and I think the people who know me best, I speak more intellectually around the people I'm comfortable with. Otherwise, I'm just a normal person. You know what I mean?
That's just how it is. I
mean, like, look at how you talk about powerlifting and how I talk about it. Like, I go by feel. I kind of lift like a bro, you would say.
Yep.
And you're all science, and you're like, oh, why are you doing a set of 10? I don't know, because I want to.
Yeah, exactly. So I guess that's kind of where we have a disconnect with that. But yeah, so that's my background, high school. So I was a 3-sport athlete. And again, I don't love talking about stuff like this because I don't love talking about the past. But just for the sake of reference, 3-sport athlete. I was all conference in 3 different sports: outdoor track, basketball, and football. I was actually recruited to do track at Springfield College, which is where I went to college for 4 years. My undergraduate degree was in applied exercise science. This is a side tangent. Do not get a degree in exercise science. It is not worth it, especially if you don't know what you want to do with it. If you know you want to go into physical therapy or athletic training, something of the like is a euphoric, great major. If you don't know what you want to do, major in something that's a little bit more useful. I could have been a powerlifting coach without my degree. Does it help? Yeah, I think it does.
I mean, you know a lot about the body now. Like, I come to you for injuries. Like, I'm sure you learned that in school, right?
Yes and no. I mean, I am going to be honest that a lot of the knowledge that I've accumulated has been through, I don't want to say self-discovery, but self-driven research where like I want to know about it, so I learn about it. But, I graduated with a 4-year degree and I can't sit here and say I didn't learn anything. It's just that I would love to make a little bit more money with the stuff that I'm doing, which kind of leads me to what I'm doing for a career now. Ellie, you want to say something here?
Yeah, I just I just finished my first year of college too, and I go to UNE,
Yeah.
a sports medicine school, I guess. Or like
One of the better ones.
Yeah. Especially for powerlifting, like I feel like a lot of powerlifters, young men, women too, not trying to but we don't know what we want to do.
Of course.
And so powerlifting, it's like, well, exercise science, right? Like, just makes sense.
Yeah.
In reality, like the disconnect between powerlifting and like
Love
exercise science is insane.
I love that you have recognized that. And we've talked about that before, right? And we can get into one of our topics this season is going to be on programming and stuff like that, because I'm looking at two different individuals who do the same sport. Their programs can, and although they train the same lifts on pretty much on the same days, their reps per set, their average intensity could not be more different. So that's something that we can talk about. But you're right. There's a huge disconnect between powerlifting the sport versus strength training scientifically. But yeah, so just to kind of so I've been powerlifting for 6 years. I've been lifting in general for 12 years. I would not be powerlifting without Michael.
Right, yeah, because, I mean, I don't know, did you reach out to me?
So from what it was so long ago at this point,
Yeah.
we're probably messing some part of it up. So as I mentioned, I went to Springfield College. I was recruited to do track. I did my first couple of weeks during indoor, was not for me, did not gel with the people. For those of you listening, I'm one of the most introverted people that I know. Michael can speak to that. He invites me to go out all the time, and the answer is always no, because I don't want to be around people.
I always want you to come out to the SWIC with us, but you got other things to do, like
I got
video
other
games.
things to do, video games and stuff
Well, you
like
are
that.
very busy with coaching.
I am. I'm busy with other stuff, but even when I have downtime, I just don't want to spend it with not millions, but thousands, not even thousands. I don't like being around a lot of
couple
people.
hundred people.
Yeah, exactly. That just makes me uncomfortable. But so after I got done with track, I was like, what am I going to do? I've been an athlete my whole life. Where do I go from here? And I don't want to say I made the mistake, but I kind of spun my wheels for a year and a half with Olympic style weightlifting.
I mean, it got you very good, I feel like, at squat.
I was, because I was squatting a lot.
Right.
Right. Different style of squat, but I was definitely, I squatted 400 pounds high bar.
Which is very impressive.
Right. And I had a flimsy belt, not so good knee sleeves, and, so it was pretty good, but I was never mobile enough to do the lifts really well. I think I snatched 200 pounds and I think I clean and jerked 250 something pounds, which is okay, but for the grand scape of
for an Olympic lifter, it doesn't compare.
No, and especially
but for the average person, it's pretty.
For the average person, it was fine, but comparatively speaking, to where I'm at with powerlifting, night and day difference.
Yeah.
And I made the distinction that I'm more strong than I am mobile and explosive and whatnot. Why don't I just push all my chips into something where I can kind of, get into that? Michael was the best person to reach out to because he was my size. He was been in the game for years at that point.
Probably,
4 years.
Yeah, 4 years competing.
And we started training with each other in around 2018-ish, maybe late 2017, somewhere around there.
Yeah, 2017, 18.
Yeah, the years all kind of blur together at that point, but made the decision that I was going to go full force into powerlifting. Did my first meet September of 2018. Funny story about me, my first 3 meets were all in the same venue in Augusta, Maine.
Yep.
And they were, I believe, so to Elliot, to one-up you, I think all 3 of my first meets were 6 months apart. So I did my first meet. 9 weeks later, I did a meet against Michael. where Michael proceeded to blow me out of the water.
That's not true. We weren't that far off.
No, we were far. You beat me by like 50 pounds on
Well,
total.
that's because at the time you weren't nearly as good as you are now at bench.
No, exactly.
That's where we
we squatted similar. I think my pole was just ever so slightly higher than yours, and you outbenched me, I believe, by like 50 pounds.
And let's just say when you stopped Olympic lifting, you were benching what, 185.
Yeah, so when I first started, I actually remember this vividly. So yeah, I was benching around 185, and I remember very, very vividly being in my college gym, attempting 200 pounds on bench for the first time, being absolutely crushed by it. My first meet, I only benched 214, and it was like an RP 11. You were there. You helped me out.
Yeah, I remember that. And now you're at like 280, 290.
Yeah, yep.
Which is huge. And
benched 292 my last meet.
I mean, and I've been at 275 for the last like 5-6 years, and you've gone up like 100 pounds, which is crazy.
Right, and I attribute a lot of that to just actually putting on size in my upper body. I think most people who've seen me now, they notice that as I put on more size in my upper body. And Elliot, honestly, I think that's where you have such a advantage of where you're at in the sport. When I first met you and whatnot, you were essentially training like a bodybuilder, and that's probably why your bench press is as good as it is.
I mean, I was just a bro to start off, to be honest, and like. Just to bring it back to like the Thornton Academy class I took.
Yeah.
The only requirements were that every day, literally all you had to do was choose 3 exercises, doesn't matter what they were, and do 3 sets of 10 and like log it in this app.
It's lit.
So literally every day, bench press, squats, and curls.
Surprise squats were in there.
Curls.
Squats were
Every
in
day's
there.
arm day.
Squats were in there, but you got to understand I was squatting the bar and I was benching like 65.
When we first started
so
working together, your bench press was pretty close to where your squat was.
extremely close.
Yeah.
I think
You're
I
still squatting high bar.
Yeah, squatting high bar. Best first squat I ever did, or first third attempt squat I ever did in the meet was like 275 high bar.
I think it was 275, and I think you benched 264 that day.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, so that's crazy.
That's crazy.
That is crazy.
Well, another thing too is like I never had the guidance of Erik, so every time I did try to squat, I always hurt myself.
Right. You were in a lot of pain when we first started too.
Yeah, so it's not like an excuse because it's still like a massery, but you know, like.
So we'll get into the topics here. I'll just end it off with, 6 years lifting for around 12. Got my start with Michael, which is kind of funny because we always talk about it's like a full circle. I mean, it's not necessarily a full circle because we're still going right now, but I think it's funny how he got my start. Now I'm technically his coach and whatnot. Michael, I'm his coach, but he could do well without me. It's just I give him a plan to kind of keep him injury free. That's essentially our relationship at this point.
I mean, and I could do decent on my own, but honestly, how well I did at the last meet, I don't think I would have squatted 420.
Right.
I don't think I mentally would have done it.
Right.
Like, I would have stopped myself probably around 400.
Right.
And deadlift, I probably would have been around there. I think it's honestly squat that you like made a huge difference.
Right. Yeah, and you know what I mean?
And deadlift has finally taken off.
Deadlift's taken off.
But
yeah,
you've helped me a lot with that, especially pause deadlifts.
Yep.
Those helped a ton.
Absolutely. So, yeah, exactly. And just a brief, I've been competing for as long as I have, been able to do pretty well within the span of the 66, now 67.5 kilo weight class. My final year as a junior, I was number 8 in the country in terms of total, which was pretty cool for me.
That's really good.
Yeah.
And you have now a 450 dots.
450 dots. And last time I checked, I am in the open. So I aged into the open last year. I think right now I'm top 5%. So I think there's been like 400 something, 67.5 kilo lifters this year so far.
Yeah.
And my total's number 24.
That's really good.
I mean, that's pretty good. I'm happy about that.
Honestly, you would be higher if it weren't for that 2 red lights.
Yeah, we'll speak about that a little bit later. My 1,300 pound total was taken away from me. But even then, like, I never thought I'd be close to totaling 1,300 pounds at this weight, and I'm knocking at the door of it. And I think next meet I'm gonna, go right past it. So.
And you're qualified for next year's nationals.
Next year's nationals, I went to junior nationals in 2021. Did pretty well there. It was my first national meet. I say pretty well, but we can talk about like our individual meets at some point because I had a little schism with my squat there. Basically, my whole powerlifting career comes down to I never really miss a lift. It's always like someone says I didn't do it correctly. But that's neither here nor there. And then I obviously, like I said, majored in exercise science. Right now, currently, obviously, I coach a bunch of people. Team Hogan, we've grown exponentially, pretty much. In
It
the
kind
last
of started off with like me, you.
start off with like me, you, Evan Wright, Chris Coolyard.
Well, way before that. I'm talking like 2018. We were saying Team Hogan.
Oh, so if we're gonna go that far, then yeah,
Yeah.
that was kind of indirect.
Zach Hurst,
People like that.
Andrew.
So I like to say my first, because like I wasn't really coaching you back then.
No, but I don't know. We would say you were coaching Zach.
Kind of, but like Zach didn't really. He kind of spun his wheels with meets and whatnot, but so that's what I do for. I guess I can technically call it a part-time thing. Even though at this point,
It's basically a full-time job.
Realistically, I'm committing a full-time worth of effort, but that's what I do for. And again, I say side income, but that's we've grown quite a lot. And then recently, I've become a teacher, where I teach an elective called sports medicine in Dover, New Hampshire, where I'm driving a grand total of 2 hours every single day. But I'm not going to get into my excuses and whatnot. Who cares about mine?
But you get it done. You still hit the gym. You respond to all your lifters.
Right.
I'll be texting you for a couple hours about things.
Right.
And you always respond.
Yeah, I try to get back as soon as I have a free moment. I try not to spend a ton of time on the phone when I'm in the car and whatnot, and when I'm teaching or whatnot. But I definitely, try my best to get back to everyone as fast as I can and whatnot. And I don't think my service has deteriorated since I've taken on this job or whatnot. So, yeah, that's that. That's me, and that's the three of us.
Yeah. So powerlifting in a commercial gym. How do you like it?
Powerlifting in a commercial gym. So I guess to set the stage, all three of us go to the same gym.
Right.
That would be Saco Sport and Fitness in sunny Saco, Maine. All of us. Michael's probably been going there the longest.
I think I've been there since I was like 15 years old. I started at 24/7 Fitness.
24/7.
Yeah.
Elliot is well aware of that. He calls it XL. I call it Howard's. So it's all the same gym.
I know it as Howard's as well.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I know it is XL Sports World for all my young heads out there.
Right. Well, you say young heads, but like I remember it quite literally when it was Howard Sports. I'm not going to use the term that I usually call that gym, but essentially that's where I call that's where motivation goes and dies, is at that gym. Is dead. The equipment is not good. The only benefit of that gym is you can sneak in for free.
Yeah.
And we did that several times growing up.
I've been in there one time too. Like, no, this is gonna sound a little out of pocket.
I know where you're going with this.
Shout out Omega Aesthetic on Instagram. Chris Jordan taught me that if you go into that gym and you do curls under the lighting is immaculate.
Now, I will say the gym does have really good lighting, but other than that, the gym sucks.
Yeah. I never really liked it. I was only there for maybe like a couple of years. That's where I started.
Right. So, yeah, we all go to Saco Sport and Fitness. Again, to set the stage, this gym is like a health club.
Yeah, and we like it there.
Yeah, and for all the stuff that we're going to say about it, we would not be there if we didn't like it.
And they treat us very well for what we do.
They treat us very well.
Yeah, very understanding. It's like,
especially a lot of the trainers. We're not as close with management as we once were, because a lot of them have left.
Yeah, I mean, but it's still the same owners.
It's still the same owners, but I know me personally, I don't have a relationship with the owners there. Maybe you do. I don't.
Yeah, I think his name's Scott. I know him. Yeah. I know him. Okay.
Yeah,
I think he knows me.
Right, and he's aware, but I wouldn't say like, hey Scott, like how you doing? Like I don't think we have that type of relationship.
Right.
Whereas with some of the trainers, I definitely do, and some of the front desk people. Again, health club. This gym is how do I say this in the most politically correct way? It is more catered towards people who are of elderly status. Would we agree with that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and a lot of the classes that they teach there are filled, right? So sometimes you go and the parking lot is packed, and then you go in and the gym floor is like completely open. It's because they're running an elderly person's class.
I mean, there are younger people that do it too. Like they have boot camp, they have yoga, like spin classes, and those younger people do it, but it's catered towards more people that like want to do classes. There's younger people that work out with the weights,
yeah,
but they're like high school kids. You see, I mean, I train in the morning very early. I see older people there. It's 5 a.m.
That will definitely be a drawback that we'll speak upon. Elliot, you want to say something here?
Yeah, like I just wanted to say, definitely the majority of the people pull up to Soccer Sport only for classes.
Right.
And it's like, I don't know, any gym you've seen on social media or anything, it is not like that. Like it might.
That's a good way to put it.
Well, yeah, I mean, you might see our Instagram videos or stuff like that where we're lifting in our little corner.
Yeah, you might think it's lit. It is not lit.
It is not lit. It is, what's the opposite of lit? Dim.
Yeah, dim.
Dim and old.
Absolutely. Now and you know, I'm kind of doing it disjustice. It's not only elderly people, and as Michael said, there is young people that go to that gym.
It's just not lifters. Dude.
Right. It's not lifters, and for what we do, it's not suited for powerlifting. It is suited for general fitness.
Right. There's a lot of younger, like high school kids, people in their 20s, 30s, that they go to work out. They don't go to lift, squat 4 plus, like deadlift 500 pounds.
Right.
They're there to
Get a pump.
get a workout in.
Right. Exactly. Be with their friends, get a pump, leave. Right.
Right. Yeah.
Now, a couple things I wanted to talk about with this concept. So we all go to the same gym. We, have opportunities to go to different gyms. And Elliot, you and me personally, we've gone to Titan Barbell down in Stoneham, Mass. Shout out Titan, by the way. Euphoric gym.
Titan Barbell is a really fun place to be.
Absolutely.
It's so different compared to Soccer
Way
Sport.
different. Way different.
You wouldn't believe.
Michael, you had a brief training stint at Impact in Biddeford.
Yeah. I liked it.
Yep.
The only reason why I switched back was honestly because none of my friends were there.
Yeah.
I had Travis that went with me.
Yep.
Travis Sanborn.
Shout out Travis Sanborn, by the way.
And he ended up switching back to Soccer Sport.
Right.
So I was alone.
Right.
And it was kind of hard to work out alone, like you need spotters and stuff and motivation.
Now, did you have a membership, or were you just going to Foley's for a little bit?
I never actually had a membership. I went there like maybe 3 times.
Yeah, we can speak upon the Foley's thing at some point, but let's stay on Soccer Sport because I'm very opinionated about the Foley's place. I thought it was going to be something more than what it was, and it turned it into something that
it looks like a nice gym.
It is a nice.
It's just
gym.
really crowded.
It's really crowded, and I'm not a huge fan of like the. I don't know. I'm gonna dig myself into a hole.
Foley's just gives off like the stereotypical like, dude. It's almost like comparing like a city to like a suburb.
Very good. Very good.
I don't know,
maybe
like,
not necessarily a city to a suburb, but like a city to like a rural town.
Yeah, I guess so. Like it's just like
it gets a lot of people probably from Portland.
Probably from Portland, and it has a lot of like the influencer type crowd, which I'm not a huge fan of.
I mean, any trope you've seen about like fitness people, like in movies and TV, it's like they go to Foley's.
Also,
not just
for people who pursue that though, shout out them. I actually think that is pretty cool. It's just not my cup of tea personally.
Yeah, it's like it's not an issue, but you just don't want to be in that crowd if you're like
right.
Baby.
Right, exactly. So, now let's talk about this. We have the opportunity to go to different gyms. We were talking about different gyms within the area, and before we kind of recorded this, Elliot was like, "Well, where?" Or maybe it was Michael. I think it was actually Elliot though. Said, "Where else could we go?" Impact is not that far away.
Right. It's like, from my house for 5 minutes.
Right, and that is not necessarily a powerlifting gym, but it's definitely more suited towards that than Soccer Sport is.
Oh yeah, they kind of welcome heavy lifting.
Yep.
Pretty well.
We have the Dynamax gym in Westbrook, which is a little bit of a trek, but it's not like too aggressive, and that is a powerlifting gym.
Yeah, that's a pretty hardcore.
Like legitimately a hardcore powerlifting gym. And then we have some other ones, I'm sure I'm missing a couple, but Jacked and Jilled, which is like the newest gym within the area. They got, calibrated plates, power bars, and stuff of the like, and they welcome powerlifters as well.
But do they have other equipment there, or is it just
so They do, but it's not as plentiful as like a Soccer Sport is.
And that's what's nice about going to a gym like Soccer Sport or Impact is that they have like machines, because some powerlifters, they train on just a bar.
And that leads me to our first point here. Why do we go to Soccer Sport? We've complained about it a couple times. What keeps us coming back? Ellie, you want to start us off?
Yeah, before I do, I just wanted to say there's also like Next Gen.
There is Next Gen, and we have a couple Team Hogan members and a couple people who will be featured on this podcast that frequent Next Gen.
Yeah, I don't know anything about that place really, but they have like
good
power
place.
bars and
really
stuff.
Good place.
Yeah, I went last week and it's pretty nice. It's kind of like Soccer Sport, a little bit I don't know. They have similar equipment.
They're a little bit more modern.
Yeah, I would say that.
Yeah. So, Elliot, I want you to start first. Soccer Sport. Why do you go to Soccer Sport? What keeps you coming back? Why you could go to a powerlifting gym right now and lift full time on like calibrated plates and stuff like that? What keeps you coming back to Soccer Sport specifically?
Dude, there's so many reasons why I like soccer sport though. Like I almost don't know where to start. I mean, the first thing that comes to mind is just the people there. Like all of my friends go there. You go there. Michael goes there.
The vibes.
Shout out Travis. Shout out.
It's an OG right
You know,
there.
Shout out Emily Dion.
Shout out Emily Dion, man.
Shout out Josh, old Josh. JK. JK. Triple JK. Anyway. Shout out everyone. I just love the environment there. Like all my friends go there, even high school kids that you guys don't necessarily know. Like
Right.
you know, Logan, he's on the come up.
Yep.
I met him through there. Aiden, all these people I love there.
Right. So the people who you're friends with outside of the gym go there.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
just like the place to be almost.
Right.
Like I know we said that it was like mogged by old heads, but it's also mogged by high schoolers and people that I like.
Right.
You know, sometimes.
Well, and I think part of that is because it's like right down the road from Thornton Academy.
Right.
Yeah. And like even people I don't know there, like I feel extremely comfortable walking up to people I see there all the time and introducing myself and making new friends.
Right.
This is a real one. Shout out Bank Guy, aka Skillet.
Shout out Skillet. That is Mr. Bradford Boutot, member of Old Orchard Beach High School, 1 year ahead of us. I didn't realize he was known as Bank Guy, but we know him as Skillet.
Yeah, he's a real one. And like it's a crazy story how I met him, but long story short, he's just like some guy that I met at the gym, and
Keeps it honest.
it's really cool how like I don't know, I guess this isn't really necessarily because it's soccer sport, but just because I've been going there for so long.
Okay.
I see people there all the time and I just can like meet people.
So for you, I guess it's safe to summarize that you pretty much keep coming back because you enjoy the people associated with the gym
Yeah.
for the most part.
Yeah, of course. Like I like meeting them. I like them seeing me lift.
Yeah,
I like keeping in touch with everyone.
of course. Let's go to Michael now. What keeps you coming back? And to set the stage for this, Michael is the one who always wants to leave and go to Impact and go to other places, but he hasn't done it yet. What keeps you coming back?
It is definitely the same reason Elliot, like he said, the people. If I went to Impact, I would have to meet new people. And I mean, it's a good atmosphere there too. Soccer Sport's a very good atmosphere. Like I said, they're welcoming, or they're okay with our lifting.
They know us.
Yeah, that's the main thing, is they know who we are. And
Right, and we have good intentions with everything that we do.
yeah, and we don't try and be like, we don't yell.
Nope.
We're not obnoxious.
I really don't think that we are.
No, the only time it can get a little loud is when we're deadlifting.
Yeah, and sometimes some people hit a PR and they get happy about it, but I don't really think that's something to be mad about.
Right. So, I mean, I guess the reason why I go and I like it so much is the people there. It's close to home.
Close.
I wouldn't
proximity.
travel to Westbrook, which is probably like 30 away.
Yeah,
And I don't know how far Jackson Jill is.
about 15.
Oh, so that's not so bad.
It's not too bad.
But yeah, I mean, training there, it's mostly the people, like, you're there. That's
course.
where I started,
Yeah.
like, really lifting. So yeah, why do you go there?
Well, it's it's going to come down to the same thing, but I usually train at a different time than most of you guys. So I'm usually in there by myself. We meet up. We try to meet up as much as we can on like Wednesdays and Saturdays and whatnot. But the majority of the week, I'm training by myself. I would say for me, and again, like I said, I love the people. Definitely a part of it. For me, I really like I kind of look to the training side of things. They let me store my own bar there. Like we have a power bar in a commercial gym. That's pretty crazy.
Right. You don't hear that often.
No, exactly. So I can do all the things that I need to do powerlifting wise. I can do my squat, my bench, and my deadlift, and then I can train how I like to train always, right? Like a bodybuilder. So I can get the best of both worlds. The problem when you have a powerlifting only gym, yeah, you can have all of the benefits of it, but then you take away equally all of the other stuff, right? So maybe they don't have a bicep curl machine. Maybe they don't have all these different attachments for our lat pull down and whatnot. And for where we are right now, yeah, me and Michael are older than Elliot, but we're like still on the come up, I guess, in terms of how much muscle we can put on and whatnot. So that stuff matters. To me, that's why I keep coming back and along with that is I do a lot of traveling myself. They're having 2 hours a day. I don't want to add another 30-minute commute going back and forth to South Portland, or God forbid, even longer than that in Westbrook. And plus the vibes there. We're powerlifters, but I don't think we're super hardcore, like screaming type individuals where we need that in order to lift. So those type of environments don't really suit us.
But why don't you like go to say like an Impact where the atmosphere is a little different? It's a little, I mean, I guess they're a little more welcoming for the like heavy lifting, and a lot more people do heavy lifting.
Yeah, true. And, there's no real good answer to this. And it comes back to personality. We talked about, I'm an introverted person. You know what I mean? I keep to myself, and having to restart, learn new people, have other people learn about me and stuff like that and what I do. You guys probably know when we do like heavy sets in the gym, like I don't want everyone to sit there and watch me and stuff like that.
I feel like you get that more at Saco Sport because it's kind of like, they don't see it all the time.
That's the issue, right? I'm fine doing it in a meet. When I'm in training and whatnot, I'm just like, leave me alone. Just let me be.
It's really interesting that you say that because for me, that's something that I really like about Saco Sport.
Yeah.
And like, I'm not like super strong by any means. Like I would say I'm above like, I would say I'm like above average. Especially like with the Saco Sport crowd, but like as far as like powerlifting goes, I'm like, I don't know, I'm not that good to be honest, but it's like at Saco Sport, you get people coming up to you like, oh, that's so cool. You have the young kids like idolizing you, and it's like, it's not hugely important, but it's nice.
I will say I do really get a lot of enjoyment when someone I don't know comes up and it's non-hate. You know what I mean? Like, that's really impressive and stuff like that. That is a really cool aspect. Maybe that's part of the reason, too. I don't do it for validation, but of course, it makes you feel good when someone says like that's impressive.
Yeah, it always makes you feel good, but on the opposite end of the spectrum, you also have people that come up to you and...
Hold that thought. We're going to speak on the pros and cons. But yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't rule out going to like an Impact, something like that in the future.
I've said it multiple times. We should switch. If we all just switched...
Then, if we all did it, then maybe that would be the case. But I don't know.
And we all train at different times. I mean, I go at 5 in the morning. You go at like 5 or 2 in the afternoon.
Yeah, sometime around there, sometime later, sometimes a little bit earlier. But regardless, so we spoke our piece on that. Let's go down some of the pros and cons of lifting. And I want to set the stage. Powerlifting as a sport is a little bit different than strength training. I actually think strength training in Saco Sport or any type of commercial gym is completely doable. I think it's good. I think it's, there's no reason you can't do it. When you get to the highest level, and we're not all at the highest level of the sport, but we're trying to improve our performance in meets, right? There's some limitations there when you decide to do most of your training in the powerlifting gym. Let's talk about some of the pros and cons here. What are the pros of doing what we do in a commercial gym? Elliot, let's start with you. Can you think of something off the top of your head, or kind of putting you on the spot?
To be honest, like, dude, I don't know. Maybe like the machine work, like you guys are talking about. I mean,
okay, so more access to like isolation exercises.
Yeah. Do you want to know what else is like? You always emphasize using machines not as like muscle building.
Yep.
Like not as a means to get stronger, but just like rehab work, staying healthy, this and that. I feel like a lot of powerlifters, maybe not like the elite level powerlifters that we see on Instagram, but like a lot of lifters don't even consider that like ever. Like they don't stretch, they don't do this and that. So that's really important.
People, and it's really prevalent these days. People will powerlift for like the social media presence. They'll go balls to the wall for 3 years, and then they'll be spit out the other end, get hurt, and then they will never come back. Right, and that's probably because they never did. They don't actually love lifting. They just love.
They love lifting heavy weight.
They love lifting heavy weight, and they like the likes they get on Instagram from it. That's again neither here nor there. So that's a pro. Michael, what about you? What's a pro to powerlifting in a commercial gym?
I think definitely like the machines. Like I like the bodybuilding side of lifting. Like I've always been into. I mean, I trained upper body for a few years, basically because of my knee injuries. So without that, I would have been doing bench, just literally bench.
Right.
And that's not enough to like
That's a good way. That's a good way to get some imbalance injuries, like strained pec or something like that.
Right. Yeah, and that actually happened to me. I wasn't doing enough, like say back work, and you can only do so many barbell rows.
And barbell rows are not really that good of a back exercise, to be honest with you.
It doesn't isolate your upper back. You're gonna have some limitations because of your low back.
Right.
I mean, the people are nice.
Yep,
I
people.
like it.
Yeah. You don't have to deal with like egotistical type people sometimes. I'm not going to say powerlifting gyms are egotistical, but like, of course you get people who look down upon you if you're not lifting a certain weight.
Because they're stronger than you or something like
exactly.
that.
Yeah, I was just to speak on that too, is like sometimes if you're a more timid person, like when we go to Titan Barbell, we're lucky because we know everyone there.
Right.
But like if that was a bunch of strangers, I would feel like shit, dude.
Oh, absolutely.
Like especially because I'm like one of the weaker guys there, so it's like.
And Michael, you and I can relate to this. It's like when you're a smaller guy or whatnot, even if you're strong, you're not lifting as much weight as like the bigger guys are.
Yeah.
So you don't get as much respect.
Right. Like you're like me and you, we squat mid 400s. That's really good for someone our size.
Yep.
But you see somebody that weighs like 230, like somebody that goes to our gym.
Squatting 600 or something like that. Yeah.
And that says, oh, that's not impressive. Like if you look at it in the country, like we said, we're in the top 100.
Right.
Like, I mean, I was top 10
Yep.
with only like a, say, 275 bench, which is not a lot of weight. But if you think about it, somebody that weighs 130,
right,
that's a lot of weight.
I believe that's a little bit, not well over, but it's a little bit over double body weight. Double body weight bench is a pretty big deal.
Right. Yeah. Not many people do a double body weight bench.
In general, right? I would say for me, the pros are already stated, what you guys just kind of talked about. For me, the biggest pro would just be the I don't know, it's kind of hard for me to say because I wouldn't go back if I didn't like it, essentially. I think for me, having and again, I'm trying to figure the best way to put this. The only way I can describe it is the vibes, right? So having, you there, and I'm pointing to Elliot, pointing to Michael, that aspect, it's like, you don't necessarily have that in a, I don't know, I'm trying to not call other gyms out.
Well, like, how do you do it when you're on your own, when we're not there? Well,
I know people from, and I'm trying to speak on soccer sports specifically. I know people who go to this gym. They know me. And it's like, and again, it comes back to me being an introverted person. It's a low pressure. I don't do well with like a high pressure atmosphere that's not a meet or anything like that. If I'm constantly dealing with that, like I'm going into a powerlifting gym where everyone's strong all the time, I'm going to get
you're going to feel like you're not strong.
I'm going to feel like I'm not strong. I'm going to feel like I have to keep up. And
right. You may be pushed to do something you don't want to do.
Exactly. So then you go off your program, you go a little bit heavier. You do this over the span of, 2 or 3 weeks, or not even 2 or 3 weeks. Let's go 2 or 3 months. Now you're injured. I don't feel that impetus in a commercial gym, right? I can just go in, and it sounds kind of arrogant. It's not necessarily what I mean by it. You're probably one of the stronger people in there. You don't have to worry about trying to impress anyone.
Not arrogant, dude, because that's like exactly how I feel.
Yeah.
Well, maybe that is arrogant, but I was
gonna say maybe that doubles down on why it's arrogant.
No, but like in soccer sport, bro, I feel like a god. Swear to God.
Well, like, not many people. I mean, let's say like bench. Not many people bench 2 plates.
Right.
Like the average person isn't going to go into the gym and bench 2 plates.
And we kind of look down. I mean, we personally don't, but like powerlifting looks down at a 2-plate bench. For the average person who attends the gym, not many people are going to end up benching 225.
Right. And I like to refer to like an average person that goes to the gym.
Yep.
They may want to bench 2 plates, and that's like incredible.
Yeah.
But if, say, we went to a Jacked and Jilled or even Impact, which is still, it's similar to soccer sport.
Yep.
There's going to be more people that bench 2.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, I don't even think regular people.
Yeah, I know what you
mean. Like we're not regular, but like
non-powerlifters.
Like I don't even think they can squat 2 plates or like deadlift 3 plates. It's really cool. Like,
yeah,
it's really cool being idolized like that for.
Yeah, and I understand what Elliot's trying to say, and I know Elliot personally. He doesn't go to the gym so people can worship him or anything like that. Yeah, that's not what he's trying to say.
And we're all very humble with what we do.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think any one of us, like Elliot and Michael, like to go back and forth and in jest with each other.
Yeah, like when I first started up, and Elliot said, "I bet I deadlift more than you," and I had been back for maybe a month.
And to set the stage as well, Michael is 3 weight classes lower than Elliot is.
Why would you say that?
Yeah, like last week when Elliot, or what was it, today?
Here we go again.
We were saying, Elliot was like, I was pretty hyped about 430. I was like, oh yeah, that's 100 pounds less than what I did last time.
Yeah, that really hurt. but it's not like that. That's just because it's us, you know.
Exactly.
It's not. I never ever. I mean, I know I just said like I feel good about being stronger than the typical sport goer, but I'm never like thinking like, wow, I'm better than these people. It's just like nice. Like you wouldn't get the recognition like that in like a powerlifting gym.
Of course.
And obviously, like you're saying too, that's not what it's about, but it helps when you're starting off, especially with social media.
Yeah.
Everyone you see can squat 700, deadlifts like 800.
I know
You're
what you
always
mean.
watching Jamal Browner,
Yeah.
and you're just like,
And again,
wow, I suck. And then it's like,
I don't want to go down too much about that because I think that's going to be another topic for the season. We'll talk about the impact of social media in powerlifting. As you guys know, I have a very strong opinion about that. And maybe me and Michael haven't really talked about it as much, but you and me, Elliot, we've definitely talked about
we talk about this all the time.
on how much I cannot stand the social media aspect of powerlifting. But yeah, so that was the pros. The cons. Now, I'll start off with this. The cons. Cons would definitely be the haters. All right. Now, we are not going to sit here and try to, call personal people out or anything like that. But I know me personally, and even back when me and Michael were going, certain things that fly in a powerlifting gym do not fly in a commercial gym. The biggest one, deadlifting.
Right. Yeah.
So again, this is tough to us because the gym that we go to actually built 2 deadlift platforms. And I said deadlift platforms because what do you do on them? You're supposed to deadlift on them, right?
Or drop weights like your Olympic weightlifting.
That was my next point. There's a sign on the wall that says you can drop from hip height. So they are made to dampen sound, and they are made for people to do that. Still, we have had other people in the gym, and this trends beforehand, well before, like me and Michael had to deal with this before. I don't know if you remember this in 2018 or 19, we were deadlifting on like the rubber.
Right.
And that trainer came over and was like, can you guys slide some pads underneath? Because this is really loud.
And they were thick pads where it would have affected our deadlift like
absolutely
a lot.
Would've,
we can't train like that.
No, and you can't. And even still to this day, Elliot deadlifts with he deadlifts sumo. And I'm not calling you out, Elliot. You have a distinct lack of control after you lock out a deadlift down to the ground, which is
like the way you said
okay.
that.
Which is okay.
It's not even like, I don't even just drop it. Like, there are many people who do it much worse than what I do, but it's just like,
yeah,
why would I slow the eccentric?
I know what you mean, of course. The issue with that is it offends other people. And when other people, and we say regular people, but the people who don't do powerlifting, they go to the gym, I can understand at least a little bit from their perspective. It is probably a little bit annoying to hear a constant 400-pound slam to the ground repeatedly.
Right. And I mean, like I said, I go early and it's usually a little bit older crowd. Mm-hmm. And surprisingly, they're okay with it.
Right. It seems to more so be like the people who are, I don't want to say middle-aged, but like the people who are there and like in a rush because they need to get back home and cook dinner and stuff like that. They don't want to, they probably dealt with yelling and screaming all day and now they have to go to the gym and hear even more of it.
But like, why don't people just put on headphones?
Your guess is as good as mine.
So I think it's, to take a hot take on this, it's the lifetime intermediates, dude.
Yeah. They
hate us.
Right.
And especially, we're not going to sit here and name names, but there's one individual.
We're not going to go down that road. Yeah, that would be the cons, is the haters. The obvious other con is you're not supposed to powerlift in a commercial gym, right? I said you can get away with strength training. Setting up things like video is very hard to do. You don't want to get in people's way. And you also don't want to be known as the person who's like taking a video and getting in another person's way and looking like sometimes we end up taking up 2 platforms to take a video. And I always feel bad about that. Probably looks a little self-centered.
Other thing that comes to mind as soon as you say like you're not supposed to powerlift is chalk usage.
Ooh,
goes back to deadlift too. Is like
that used to be a big deal when we were younger.
Yep.
Like we would get in trouble for leaving a mess.
Yes, we would.
Yeah, and now it's like we pull up.
We do a pretty good job now, though, I would say.
Yeah, we do a good job, but there
are some people.
Yeah, there's some people who don't necessarily follow the rules as much, but
yeah, and it doesn't bother us, and I don't think it would bother anyone who like deadlifts or anything. Anyone who a powerlifter, but
no,
it's just looked down upon commercial gym.
I agree. There's a bunch of obvious cons. The equipment, right? So say if I didn't have my own power bar, we'd be on those whippy commercial gym bars.
Some of those bars weigh 35 pounds.
Some of those bars
Swear to
probably
God.
don't weigh 45 pounds. And then,
First time I ever benched 225 was on a bar that definitely weighs 35 pounds.
right.
But I mean, you say that we didn't have that power bar when we were younger, like
It's true.
18,
Yep.
19 years old. I trained for all my competitions at Sacco's.
I trained for 7 out of 8 competitions at that gym. I guess you could make an argument that my college gym was maybe 1 or 2 of those. And I did okay.
And they weren't even iron plates either. They're rubber plates.
Sometimes, yeah, we had the rubber plates. Sometimes we had the right now we for deadlifts we have the big bumper plates. Maybe not the big ones, but the we definitely are using bumper plates. And that leads me to my next thing. Does it affect you in a competition? Now we have 3 levels of, well, two levels of competition here. Me and Michael have both done national level meets,
Right.
and Elliot, you've done local meets up until this point. Do you think personally, and this is you personally, don't let, outside perception, because I think everyone is well aware at this point, lifting on calibrated plates and lifting, practicing how you play is probably a benefit.
Yeah, it does feel a little different.
Is it overstated, I guess, to what people talk about? Elliot, I want you to talk first. Do you think that it affects you in a meet positively or negatively?
Okay, so I want to start off by saying it's hard for me to like speak for everyone because I'm not sitting here with like 5 reds on each side during a meet or
Right,
like,
so speak for yourself. So
yeah, so I know there's obviously things like whip and bars like bending and stuff like that that make a difference to people, but for myself, absolutely not. Like realistically, I think this is such a big thing that people bring up.
yeah,
Oh, like kilos, like I'm training on kilos now. It's so weird. Oh, I'm
Right.
training on like the power bar,
yep,
deadlift bar, this and that. I mean, that's a little bit different, but
right,
it's so overstated. It's so overstated. And honestly, the only difference that I notice is like I'm so used to squatting with the mirror right in front of me.
oh, okay.
So in
yeah.
the meet, it's like not hard to tell depth, but it's so like it's different.
You're used to on a visual scale of depth, and you're not actually getting used to feeling it.
Yeah.
So I guess it's safe to say it doesn't really affect you too much. You don't think about it.
No, bench is the same, squat is like the same except for that, and deadlift is like I know people make a big fuss about deadlift too and like the way the bar bends and stuff. It's
Yeah.
like, dude, honestly, grow up.
Yeah, just grow up. Michael, what do you think?
I kind of notice it. I definitely notice it on squat and deadlift.
Yep.
Bench, not so much.
Yep.
I think the way I notice it is it just feels a little heavier.
Right.
Like, because the weight's closer to you, it's not bending as
True. Yeah. I would
like
agree
on
with that.
squat.
Yep.
And deadlift, same thing. It doesn't bend as much, but we use a power bar now, and it doesn't bend that much as it is.
No.
So, I mean, if you look at the numbers I've done in the gym and then what I've done on the platform, I don't really notice it.
Right.
Like if you look at the numbers, but
Yeah.
by feel, I can tell,
Of course.
but it's not that big of a deal.
It's not something that you go into a meet and be like, I didn't get a session on kilos. You don't think about that.
Right. And like Elliot said, I noticed the mirror is a big thing
Right.
because I use the mirror actually to walk out.
Yeah.
I don't look down like you see at like
Yep.
powerlifting gyms.
Yep.
So like when I walk out, I look straight ahead
Yep.
and I'm hoping my feet.
Are like aligned. Yeah.
Right.
Right. Now, I'll say my piece on this, and I have an actual good comparison. So, for those of you who don't know, for a full year, when Corona happened, I was training in my bedroom, and I had all kilo plates at a competition bar. So, all of my training for pretty much, I don't know, 3-4 months, maybe even an extended period, maybe it was up to 6 months, was on all kilo plates, was on a power bar, and I trained for 2021 Junior Nationals on that setup. I did not PR my total at Junior Nationals. For a different reason.
It probably could have been because you were training in your bedroom.
Well,
you didn't have
again,
motivation.
Exactly. So that had something to do with it. But my whole process was before going into meets, I had dealt with the same thing. Every time I would show up to a meet, yeah, I would lift okay, but it always felt so much heavier. And I was like, for me, feeling is a big thing. Like if it feels pretty okay on my back, I know I'll probably get it. If it feels like an absolute, truck, my confidence is shot. So I figured, why not train exclusively on this stuff, and maybe my performance will exceed. Didn't. And I thought it was funny that I transitioned back to soccer sport where I did my entire prep on pound plates. On obviously, I still have my power bar, but I did a lot of work on just like a regular commercial gym bar, and I PR'd my total by 33 pounds. And then my next meet, I did even better. Um, I will say this: it's lift dependent. If you are squatting a ton of weight, let's say above 495, it probably matters.
Right. Yeah.
If you are deadlifting and you have a whippy bar and big fat bumper plates, you most likely are doing yourself a disservice because that whip is not going to be there in a meet. The weights are going to be more centralized. It certainly is easier. I think most people would agree with that. For me personally, I have noticed I deadlift a little bit better in the gym because of that. Deadlifts in a meet, I'm always peaked, so I can't really tell. They feel fine. Bench always feel better in a meet, and I think that has to do more so with the equipment. We're not on the
Right.
commercial gym bench.
Yeah, our bench is not that great for
Right.
powerlifting.
That's a ton of soccer sport.
Right.
Slippery bench.
Slippery bench. And then for squat, honestly, I've found that, I feel better in a meet. I like having the weights more centralized because you guys see I have a very, maybe not necessarily slow, but I have a distinctly more controlled squat than both of you. And that kind of plays to my advantage.
Oh yeah, like when you go down versus like when say I go down and up very quickly, and
Right.
you go down real slow, and then you push up
Right.
hard.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So mine is more of a gradual thing, whereas you rely a little bit more on, and that's because we're different lifters. You know what I mean? So does it affect unicomp? In me personally speaking, no. And I think for a lot of people, and of course, if you're at the elite level of the sport, get in a powerlifting gym with, there's calibrated plates and kilo plates and like that. If you're pushing 700 pounds on both lifts, squat and deadlift, get in a powerlifting gym. If you are, and I don't want to, set the stage for strength standards, but if you're like below 500 pounds on squat and deadlift, bench doesn't necessarily matter too much. You're going to be fine in a commercial gym. It's strictly mental at that point.
Yeah, I'm one of those people that falls in that boat, and I 100% agree. Like
I mean, me and Knuckle are too.
there are so many things that so many variables on meet day 2.
Yeah.
Like hydration, sleep,
Yeah, exactly.
food intake, like your weight, all this stuff. It's like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know where I'm going with that.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that go into it for sure. So yeah, I think we set our piece on that. So that was, powerlifting in a commercial gym, why we kind of do it. I think it's safe to say that we're probably going to keep doing it for the indefinite future.
I wouldn't see us actually going to a legit like powerlifting gym.
Yeah, but we may not stay at soccer sport for forever.
Maybe not.
Ooh, another thing too about the like lifting at soccer sport is like we don't try to make our lifts dishonest.
That's the other thing.
Like
We keep each other pretty accountable, don't we?
Yeah, we always choose like this kind of sounds funny probably to listeners, but like there's very distinct different bars at soccer sport, and we always choose like the heaviest ones if we can't use the power bar.
Right.
We always use the smallest plates. We never try to like cheat our lifts just for.
No, we don't try to cut our squats high or like do a touch and go bench or let each other use straps for deadlift or anything like that. So we keep it legit.
Yeah, so like a lot of what it comes down to too is just like
what's your environment?
Yeah, and like consistency in training too. Like how bad does
how much does the group care about it?
Yeah.
If we have a good group, so I'm thankful about that. Yeah, I think that's a good spot to go. I think what we'll do now is we'll debut our weekly segment here. This is called Shoutouts, where we're going to shout out any entity that we choose, and I quite literally mean any entity. And that's how we'll close each show. I'll start first. My shout out for this week on episode 1 of the Utopiacast is brown sugar shaken espresso at Starbucks. Mr. Elliot knows that I'm a huge fan. The sweeter, the better. This is already a sweet drink, and I already add 3 Splendas to it. It's been a ritual every deadlift day that I consume one of these before every session. I beltless deadlifted 507 on kilo plates last week, and I downed one of these beforehand. It's absolutely euphoric. Shout out Starbucks, but more so the brown sugar shaken espresso. Shout out brown sugar. Elliot, who would you like to shout out?
Shout out George Horvat.
George Horvat. We got our first person shout out.
George Horvat, if you're listening to this right now, shout out you. And I know you can't see this as of right now, but bowing to you.
George is a great individual.
An idol, teacher,
Transcendentalist.
almost everything under the sun.
Absolutely. Respect to George.
A musician.
Euphoric.
Just euphoric.
Michael, what would you like to shout out?
I'd like to shout out The Slingshot by Mark Bell. I think that it definitely helps. I wish that Erik would program it a little more. But I got some success from using it in the past. But yeah, shout out Mark Bell's Slingshot.
I'm gonna let Michael have his time. I'm not a huge fan of it. Elliot, would you like to say anything in closing?
No.
Michael, would you like to say anything in closing?
I think we'll try to see you guys next week.
Yep. So the idea is we're going to try to get at least one recorded and out to you each week, depending upon our schedules and whatnot. Yeah, I think if anyone's good, I think that's where we'll end it. Thank you guys for listening to episode 1 of the Utopiacast. Again, I am Erik Hogan with my co-host Michael Beaupre, and we'll see you guys next week.